Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday, working towards the weekend. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. They are underway from the Open Championship across the pond. Get you caught up on that a little bit later, but we got more pressing local issues to get to before we do that. Luke Johnson's here in 15 minutes to talk about Alvin Kamara's new deal with the New Orleans Saints. Alvin going to be a Saint for his entire NFL career. At least that's exactly what it looks like at this point, so we'll get Luke's thoughts on that. What college football playoff expansion could learn from the World Cup? We'll get into that in 30 minutes. I've got some vehement disagreements with an ESPN.com piece on that. We'll talk about LSU's running back group entering this season at the top of hour number 2, and excited to have Jay Johnson on the show coming up in an hour and 15 minutes, 2:15. Big day for Tommy White tomorrow. He'll make his Major League Baseball debut alongside Gage Jump. I want to talk about him. They will play Dylan Cruz in the Washington Nationals tomorrow, and it's going to be a big day for LSU baseball, so I want to talk to Jay Johnson about that. Plus, a couple of his transfers are Cape Cod League All-Stars, so I wanted to ask Jay about that as well. And we'll have some fun with some World Cup radio calls coming up in hour number 2. So plenty to get to. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
So this time last year, LSU and Nike announced their partnership as part of the Blue Ribbon Elite Athletes program. And we were told that LSU was the first and that there were more coming. South Carolina jumped on board. Clemson jumped on board. Southern Cal jumped on board. There were a few others that joined LSU in partnership with Nike for an NIL program that encompassed all the athletics and was something that had not been done by these national brands previously. It has been done since. But LSU, a year later, is introducing year 2. And there are 11 football players that have been chosen as Nike Blue Ribbon Elite Athletes. It's the biggest class of its kind thus far. Nike and LSU have had a great partnership for a very, very long time, and this is just a part of that. And as I looked through the 11 players that are involved in this deal, it really made a lot of sense. I'm connecting dots in this segment. I'm not reporting facts at all. But I don't think I'm out of bounds in any way, shape, or form when you look at the players they have selected. Now, I'm told this is not some sort of $2 million per player situation here. This is not a 7-figure per player deal. It's an opportunity with a monster brand to attach yourself to it. You can create products. You can use their Instagram platform, their social media platforms to endorse products and grow your personal brand with one of the biggest brands in the world when it comes to sports, and it comes through an iconic brand in LSU athletics and specifically football. But let's look at the players that have been chosen for this program. When you think about the returning offensive players on this team that are to make the biggest impact, well, the 2 running backs stuck around, Caden Durham and Harlem Berry, they're involved. The tight end is probably the best tight end of the country. He's going to media days next week. Trey'Dez Green, he's involved for a second straight year in this program. Those are really the most impactful offensive playmakers that are coming back on this team. They are involved. When you stick to the offensive side of the ball, I would suggest 3 of the top 5 most impactful transfers are involved in this. You've got Jace Brown, who is the most productive receiver you brought in. He was the all-time leader in sophomore receiving yards at Kansas State, went over 1,000 yards with the Wildcats, had a really, really good run at Kansas State. He's involved here. You've got Jordan Seaton, who's going to be your starting left tackle, who's a big, big name. He's involved here. And then, not someone in the starting lineup. This is interesting to me, but it makes a lot of sense. Huson Longstreet on the offensive side of the ball is involved with this. Sam Leavitt is not. Huson Longstreet is. Now, I don't think that suggests that Huson Longstreet is some sort of slam dunk to be a starter. I don't think this is a slight to Sam Leavitt. I think they probably gave Sam Leavitt some significant guarantees beyond this Nike endorsement, right? But how do you get someone to come in and sit? Huson Longstreet was a 5-star quarterback. Without speaking in certainties, as far as a destination for him in a starting spot, I would be willing to guarantee you he could have gone somewhere and started in the power conferences. A 5-star quarterback that Lincoln Riley identified, brought to USC, played well in mock-up duty, has the measurables, was really good at the Elite 11 campus at high schooler. This guy could have found a landing spot, and he chose to come to LSU and sit. How? Well, things like this certainly help. Attaching yourself to Nike as a second-year college player certainly helps. Having that opportunity to make money through that, attach yourself to that brand, be a part of LSU, like that certainly helps. It's not everything. I don't think Huson Longstreet looked at every option and goes, well, I got to be a part of this Nike deal, so let's do that. But I think it probably helped. I asked myself plenty of times that, hey, like, how would you get 2 extra quarterbacks to come here? How would you get players to come sit? This is part of it. Yeah, playing under Lane Kiffin is absolutely part of it. Yeah, playing for LSU is absolutely part of it. Yes, playing in the SEC is absolutely part of it. I'm confident there's other NIL accommodations for Huson Longstreet. This is not the entirety of the package, but it's interesting because I look down this list, there are only 2 guys that aren't going to be big-time contributors on this football team. And Huson Longstreet's one of them, and he's in this number. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So you look at the offensive side of the ball, your 2 running backs, your star tight end, what could be your number 1 wide receiver, and the backup quarterback are involved. Now you go to defense. Whit Weeks, gotcha. He's the captain. He's in the middle of the defense. He's a big personality. He's a famous college football player. He's going to media days. Makes sense. He's part of this, right? DJ Pickett was a part of this last year as a freshman. He's going to be part of it again as a sophomore. That's as talented a player as you've brought in the Kiffin era. That's a guy who had a great freshman season. He was named On3's National Defensive Freshman of the Year. Absolutely, part of this deal. Then you go to the portal. The 2 most productive defensive players you brought in, with maybe the exception of Daugherty, are Prince William 9 sacks in the SEC last year on a college football semifinalist, and Ty Benefield, who we think is going to be a star. Absolutely, both of those make a ton of sense. You bring them in. But who's the last piece of this puzzle on defense? We've hit linebacker with Weeks, in the secondary with Benefield, and with Pickett, you got Prince William on the edge. Who's the other piece to this puzzle? Well, it's not TJ Daugherty, not PJ Woodland, not Deshaun Spears. Stephon Keys was second in the SEC in tackles last year. It's not him. Dominic McKinley, former 5-star. Maybe one of the guys you brought in at defensive tackle. Stephylon Green and Malik Blockton from the Power 5. Maybe that was an enticement to bring them in. Nope. Lamar Brown, number 1 player in the nation, comes in and is part of this number. And I think that's part of the deal. Lamar Brown had options. It's fair to say he had options, right? That's a guy who could have gone wherever he wanted to. I think LSU had a foot in the door because he, grew up down the street. But this is another piece to that. Again, I am not suggesting this is the entirety of the puzzle. I'm just suggesting as I look at the list, it starts to make sense why you would put some of these guys forward. And I think there is an indication that, hey, in some cases it was to lure these guys in. And in some cases, it's a look at the future. When they put DJ Pickett on this last year, that's a long-term deal. We want to keep him involved. LSU would agree to that. I think Nike would agree to that. There's a pretty good chance that DJ Pickett is a high NFL draft pick. Nike's interested in that. And then when you look at Longstreet and Brown, who have never played a snap for LSU, They are very much in the plans for 2027. They are very much in the plans for 2028. Now, those plans get foiled in collegiate athletics all the time. All the time. Every time I attempt to do what I did for 25 years of following college athletics and try to forecast lineups 12 months out, 24 months out, I catch myself and go, I don't know anybody that's going to be on this team in 12 months, much less 24 months. But it does make sense that if you're LSU and you're aligning with Nike and you're looking at guys that you would like to keep between the buoys for 12 months or 24 months, these are two of the guys that very well could be in that number. An impactful defensive front player from the state of Louisiana that everybody wants, and a quarterback. Those are guys you'd like to keep in the fold. So again, these are not monster deals right up front. Here's a ton of cash like the wild, wild west of recruiting from a year ago. It's just a strategic partnership with strategic pieces involved for the betterment of LSU and in turn, a real positive for Nike. Because when I look at this list of 11 players, you're looking at some guys that could be really famous college players on a great team, that could be really famous NFL draft picks, that could be really famous NFL players. And when you get them in the door at this point, you get a leg up. So it just works out for everybody. And it's a great deal that LSU has made this partnership with Nike. I anticipate this will continue to grow as successes happen. You've already seen this go from a limited number of players in every sport to LSU football growing to the biggest number in this program's one-year history. And I don't anticipate any reason why it would slow down. Nike and LSU have always had a great relationship, and this is just furthering that. And I think it's interesting to just kind of dive into what these guys look like on the field and in the program's future. It's a cool deal. You can read about it over at LouisianaSports.net. I've got some opinion up there for free. It's right there on the homepage. We're off and running here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Alvin Kamara, going to be a Saint for life. We'll talk to Luke Johnson about that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com, swingeasygcbr.com. Big golf weekend. The Open Championship is upon us. If you want to mix some golf yourself into the weekend, if you don't have 5 hours to play a round of golf, well, go over to Swing Easy Golf Club. You can get one of those private bays. They've got comfortable seating right there, a great simulator. You can play where they're playing the Open Championship. They're right there across the pond, just outside of London, and you can play the course. Take unlimited mulligans if you want. You can play the entire course in like an hour. It's a great, great way to squeeze in golf quickly in the air conditioning with a cold drink if you'd like, right there at Swing Easy Golf Club. They're on Seagan at Perkins. Come with a group, go by yourself, work on the driving range on the simulator, or play the course and card a score. It's a great, great way to mix some golf into your weekend, time efficient and out of the elements that are kind of nasty around here this time of year. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. You can find them online at swingeasygcbr.com, but stop on by Seagan at Perkins. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Sagrera Farms brings you our Thursday shows each and every week. Jay Johnson with us in an hour talking about Tommy White's Major League debut. It's just coincidental. He'll be opposing Dylan Cruz, and then you'll have Gage Jump in the dugout with him for the Athletics. Nick Kurtz will also be playing for the Athletics tonight. He was a part of that Wake Forest game, although he didn't play in that game. He was out for an injury, but he was in the dugout for Wake that night, and what was one of the greatest games in College World Series history. We'll walk down memory lane and talk about some of the great things that are going on in professional ranks for LSU baseball coming up in 1 hour. Right now, we'll talk about the Saints. Luke Johnson covers the black and gold for the Advocate, NOLA.com. He's with us on Thursdays. Joins on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you?
I'm just taking solace in the fact that I am the most important guest named Johnson on your show today. So
I didn't even consider that. Did not even consider that, but it's a fairly common name, I'm told. But we're going to take this one very, very seriously, just as we will in an hour. Just a different conversation style. Look, last year at this time, Alvin Kamara was looking for a deal. I absolutely loved the way he handled that negotiation, showing up for work, being there for practice, playing through injury, playing through pain, meeting with the media. I didn't love the deal the Saints gave him. But now we've restructured things once again. So tell us what we need to know about Alvin Kamara's newest contract structure.
Yeah, it's just the main thing you need to know is that you're cutting about $8 million off of the salary cap this year, which is what the Saints were after in the beginning. Which I think I find that kind of like negotiation a little distasteful personally. It's like you agreed to pay the guy the money, and then 1 year happens and you decide you don't want to do it anymore. Not really a huge fan of that, but it's also the business, and I get that side of things. But either way, I mean, it all just means Alvin Kamara is going to be back, and I think that is news that the Saints fan base welcomed. Even if Alvin's coming off a down year, he's still one of the best players in franchise history, and I'm sure it's news that the team welcomes too. I just got done talking about this with some of my colleagues, but I think they're clearly a better team with Alvin on the roster, even if he's not the Alvin Kamara that we all got to know in the late 2010s. I think he still elevates what they have. So you can call it a win-win, right? He gets to stay with the Saints. They get a little bit more money back, and the team's better. I think that's it's wins all around.
I want to talk about him and his role in a minute, but let's talk about the money first. You're telling me they're clearing $8 million off the books. Do they plan to use it? What's it for?
I think a lot of the times that they do this stuff, they like to just have the flexibility to add to their roster as needed. And whatever they don't use, they can roll over into next year's cap, which at this stage looks like they're going to have a ton of cap money next year. Even if they sign Chris Olave to a huge extension, they're really, really good shape in the salary cap. It feels weird saying that about this organization, but from a dollars and cents standpoint, I think that to me it just gives them flexibility. I don't think there's anybody out there who's going to command a ton of money right now, but if they need to make an addition, if they feel, if they go through a week of training camp, they're like, we're a little concerned about Jonas Stanker, or we want to dial up Kenny Moore. They have a little bit more flexibility to do that. And if they don't have to do that, then this money is available next year to them.
Money is good. Obviously, it comes at a cost to a player, and that's obviously Kamara. How do you feel like he's going to handle this mentally and emotionally? He's always been a pretty stand-up guy.
Yeah, obviously he agreed to it. I think the alternative is, he keeps whatever the remainder of his guarantees are, and he's not playing for the Saints anymore. And who knows if somebody's gonna pick him up, or if they do pick him up, what kind of role he's gonna have. He's gonna have to learn a new team and all that stuff. It might not be with a contender. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. I think this is just sometimes it's just safest to stay with the thing even if it's going to cost you a little bit. He's still going to be making money this year, and Alvin is not one of those guys who is, living paycheck to paycheck on his NFL salary. He's pretty smart with what he's done. I think just in the end, this is all just, he was true to his word when he said he didn't really want to be anywhere else. And it took a while for them to get to something that worked for both sides. They ultimately got there. And then we'll see what it looks like on the field this year, which is what you're going to ask me about next.
That is what I'm going to ask you about next. What does the role look like, assuming the health of Achane?
Yeah, my best guess is that it's going to be kind of just like on a touch basis, kind of similar to what we saw to Taysom Hill in recent years, right? Some games it's not as much, some games it's more, and in the end, it ultimately adds out to 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 touches a game, which, I think is good. I think it's good for the Saints and good for Alvin Kamara. I've said it time and time again that in his best years as a pro football player, he was splitting the rock with somebody, Mark Ingram or Latavius Murray or somebody capable. They tried to do that with Jamal Williams. It did not work out. I feel much better about this one working out, even though I felt pretty good about Jamal Williams at the time. And who knows? I think it'd be foolish to think that he's going to go right back to being the player he was when he was 26 years old. But I think if you're not asking him to go bang between the tackles 15 to 20 times a game, and You can use him more in spurts and in specific situations that are tailored to his best traits. I just don't think that we're going to see the same Alvin we saw last year, which is like an extremely diminished version of him. It was like by far his worst year as a pro last year. I mean, career low in games played, career low in average per touch, average per carry. I think he only had one touchdown. It was like week 1 or 2. It was not a good year. But I think if we're getting back to kind of basics with him, where you're using him in specific situations, I think it will be beneficial for him and the Saints.
What do we think about a confidence level in the Saints' ability to run the ball? Kamara, and whatever's behind them. And then right now, what is a healthy offensive line? We know that's always subject to change.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like it to be high. I just think that their passing attack is going to keep teams honest in a way that it hasn't for years, just because I really like the weapons they have, and I believe in Tyler Shuck. And then I really like the offensive line they've assembled. If your weak link is Cesar Ruiz, there's been times when Ruiz is like an above average starter. He's never been a great starter, but he's been above average. If he can get to average to above average on a week in, week out basis, like you're feeling really good about that line. It wasn't pretty last year, but Kellen Moore's called a lot of explosive rushing offenses in the NFL. Go look at any of his top 10 offenses. They all have top 10 rushing offenses. I just I'd like to think it can work, but it's outside of the Clint Kubiak year, they haven't really ran the ball effectively in a long time. So I just kind of got to see it to believe it, but I do think all the pieces are there that it can be effective and maybe even good.
Last thing here, and Luke Johnson's our guest with The Advocate, NOLA.com. I often say that while fans are aware of the business aspect of sports, they don't really care how much the players make. They don't really want to hear from the front office about what the tough decisions and all that kind of stuff. They just like to watch the games, and they love the players. With Cam Jordan and Kamara, ultimately, we believe finishing as Saints, starting and finishing as Saints. What does that mean for their legacy and the way that they've handled the last couple of years, ultimately back in black and gold? What is that going to ultimately mean to the city?
I mean, look, I think it means a whole lot. I'd have a hard time quantifying that, but and it's not just to the city, right? To the city, it's to a stratospheric level. These guys are icons here, and for different reasons, right? Like Alvin has been player or fan favorite from day one since he took over as a rookie, and his character, his demeanor just fits the city so well. He's flashy. It's just everything about Alvin is just perfect for New Orleans. Cam's a different story. Right. It's the work he does in the community, the kind of grit and grind that he plays with and plays with at a high level. That just means so much here. But then when you think about it from just a historical perspective in the league, man, how many running backs last 10 years with the team nowadays? It just does not happen. Now, you look at the best running backs in football right now: Christian McCaffrey, 2 teams; Saquon Barkley, 2 teams; Derrick Henry, 2 teams. It does not happen. For this would be Alvin Kamara's 10th season. It just doesn't happen, and it happens even less when you're talking about 16 seasons in one place as a defensive end. A guy who's never misses time. What they're doing historically, especially in the modern era of football. Obviously, it takes 2 to tango there. The Saints have been willing to keep them along for that amount of time at healthy salaries. What you're seeing right now is rare. It's exceptionally rare. So just enjoy it while it lasts this year.
That's extremely well put, well said, and a very, very cool thing for those that love the black and gold. Well, Luke, next week we'll be in Tampa for SEC Media Days. LSU Day is Thursday, so I will give you the day off next week. But when we talk next in 2 weeks, Saints will be on the practice field. Looking forward to it.
Yep, same here. Go get some Burns Steakhouse while you're in Tampa, my man.
We are literally going to do that, so we're looking forward to it.
Yes. Okay. All right. I'll see you, man.
Sounds good. That is Luke Johnson with NOLA.com and The Advocate. Let me remind you about my friends over at Marucci. You can go take a tour over at Marucci. Awesome opportunity to do that, and it can tell you how they became the official bat of Major League Baseball. 22 years after they were just carving a bat in a backyard shed, the best in the world use Marucci. You watch the MLB All-Star Game, you watch the Home Run Derby, you crank it up tomorrow when Tommy White makes his MLB debut. You'll see the best pros in the world swinging Marucci, and it started right here in Baton Rouge. You can learn that story by taking a tour. You can see where they make 1,200 bats a day. You can see where they shave them down and they stain them. And they can send them off to the Major League Baseball players. It's such a cool facility, such a cool story, and it's right here in Baton Rouge. So if you're looking for something to do with your kiddos out of school for the summer, you just want to go check it out. Go see it over at Marucci. You can buy tickets at MarucciSports.com. That's MarucciSports.com. And when you take that tour, you can get discounts over in the Hitter's House where you can go take some swings. It's all there, courtesy of our friends at Marucci. You know, from my perspective with Kamara and the Saints, it's a very, very cool story with what Cam Jordan and Kamara have done. And I understand where Luke's coming from with the word he used was distasteful. He did not like the way that the Saints agreed to the contract with Kamara and then came back a year later and went, I don't really like that. Let's find a way to figure this out. And I get that. I really do. But my contention has always been that you need to be in it to win championships. You need to be in it to do what's best. And like lifetime achievement awards and paying guys for what they did 5 and 7 years ago is just not great. And that's why I did not like the Kamara contract that they gave out last year. I looked at his production. I looked at what he looked like on the field. And I also, this is not Kamara's fault, I looked at the state of the team, where they were in the standing of the NFL, and I'm going, paying a 29-year-old running back this kind of money is just not a great idea. And it wasn't then, and it's not now. And so, yeah, I understand what the Saints were doing. And I, once again, as I did last year, applaud Kamara for his professionalism in going through this. He was a pro going through the contract extension last time, and it appears he's handling this part like a pro too. They kind of strong-armed him a little bit, and they're like, well, we don't have to pay this whole thing. We'll pay the guaranteed money, and then we'll move on. And that's just part of it. And as I said, fans don't really care about that. They care about the players. They care about the scoreboard. And so Alvin Kamara, once again, deserves a big pat on the back, and I think is a guy that'll just be as beloved a player as the Saints have had. Like, obviously, Breeze accomplished more and is a greater player in the pantheon of the NFL. But Kamara, as far as Luke was talking about, the production, the personality, the longevity, being with one team, it's a great, great story. And I'm thrilled for the Saints. And look, the other side of this, which everyone wants to talk about the Kamara piece to it, but the other side of it is clearing those books up. And that is an exciting thing for the Saints to finally be in a position after the season is done to go get it, to go get some dudes. You can't build a team through free agency, but you can change one. And that's the opportunity that they'll have coming up after the season with the flexibility they've given themselves from a payroll perspective. And this is just part of that as well. So it's good news for everybody involved except probably Alvin Kamara, but he does get to stay with the New Orleans Saints, which obviously was important to him as he made that decision to agree to the deal. So Alvin Kamara going to be a Saint for life. Cam Jordan going to be a Saint for life. And I know there are a lot of people out there listening in black and gold that are fired up about that. Keep chugging along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Speaking of beef, I got some beef with an ESPN.com article that talked about the World Cup and the college football playoff. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com. It is storm season, y'all. Don't think about the generator that you wish you had in a hot, dark house. We've all been there. Whether it's the afternoon thunderstorm that rips through here and knocks out your power for 4 hours, or it's the hurricane that knocks it out for 4 days. We've all been there. Proactive thinking. Call Neil and Melissa Boudreaux. They've been at this for 40 years. You call them, you get a local on the phone. You get a quote from a local. You get the installation from a local team, and then they can monitor your generator 24/7. So if there's a mechanical issue, a local team comes and fixes it. So that when your power goes off, that Generac home standby generator is ready to power on. It's time to think about it now. It's been quiet for a couple of years. It's quiet right now. We like that. I hope it's quiet for another decade. But is that reality? Probably not. Get that Generac home standby generator installed by calling the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical at 985-397-1562 or the Gonzales location, 225-300-9389. I'll also give you the easy way every single day. That's boudreauxelectrical.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
heard me talk about Sagrera Farms for a couple years now, and so you know what I'm talking about when I mention Sean Sagrera and Sagrera Farms. I'm going to give you Sean's cell phone number at the end of this read, so if you've always heard me talk about it and think this is the time I want to make that call, get your phone ready to get Sean's number. But you know that you're going to get prime Angus beef from Sean Sagrera and Sagrera Farms, some of the best beef in the country, in some cases double the standard of prime, right? And it changes the way that you eat at home. Ground beef, burgers, unbelievable. My wife won't eat another burger if I just go get beef from around the corner. It's got to be Sagrera Farms. The steaks, I love a great steak, and I really don't like a not-so-good steak. And you've all gone and picked up that ribeye, picked up that strip, picked up that filet, and you cooked it at home, and you went, that didn't do it. That'll never happen if you get Sagrera Farms because you're guaranteed prime Angus beef. Sean is a master at this craft. Every single cow is a 3-year journey, age 45 days, and the marbling, you can see it when you pick up that piece of beef. So call Sean to get that whole cow. Call Sean to get that half a cow. Call Sean to get that quarter of a cow. Split it with some people in your family or friend group. It will change the way you eat at home. He's at 225-719-1723. It's 225-719-1723. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. All right, I like Bill Connolly's stuff at ESPN.com. I really do. I think that the objective data he puts forth is really interesting to read. It's not gospel, but it's really interesting, especially when you get into some of the playoff games and he goes through some of the metrics that teams have. I just find it to be fascinating to read, and I always enjoy that kind of stuff. And so when I saw his name pop up on ESPN.com's NCAA football homepage today, I was like, all right, well, I'll give this a read. And it was about the World Cup expansion, which is the World Cup, for those that don't know, which I didn't. It went from 32 to 48 this year. And he is advocating for the college football playoff to look at this model and go, look, this works. This is great. And some of the examples that he cites are obviously Cape Verde and Argentina, where Cape Verde played Argentina off its feet for almost 90 minutes, and Argentina struck late for a goal. But it gave you that amazing Cinderella moment. And that isn't going to happen if you shrink the playoff down. It can only happen if you include more teams. And he talks about St. Peter's making a dream run in the NCAA basketball tournament. And he talks about what could be possible for college football if you include more teams. And as he writes, it's all about representation, he says. And as he continues in that graph, he says about 36 European teams are in the 48-team field if you do it the way that college football is going to do it, with the Big Ten and SEC monopolizing everything. And he doesn't think that's best. It's best to include the whole world in the World Cup. It's best to include every conference in the college football playoff. So you got Panama and Uzbekistan getting into the playoff, not because they can beat France, not because they can beat Argentina, but because they beat their peers and got in. And he thinks that's a good thing. And he continues to write that, yes, there will be blowouts, like Germany beat Curacao 7-1, but you will also get those indelible moments. So you take the trade-off. You're going to get some blowouts if you let some lesser teams in, but you get those incredible moments. And this is where he completely loses me. Completely loses me. He says, if we had let all the conference champions in instead of the big conference at-larges with Duke and Boise, we would have had Duke, Boise State, Western Michigan, and Kennesaw State in the college football playoff. His argument for this, because you're all rolling your eyes like I did, his argument for this is that Virginia, Houston, Georgia Tech, and Iowa, who would be additional at-larges in last year's field, would have had a combined 0.8% chance to win the national championship. So less than 1% for Virginia, Houston, Georgia Tech, and Iowa, if you let them in. From the big conferences, at-large bids. Well, if you just let the conference champions in from the G5, you only go down from 0.08 to 0.01. It's still less than 1%. Just let Kennesaw State in. Bill, I like reading your stuff. This ain't it. There is not anybody out there that needs to watch Kennesaw State play Oklahoma. There's nobody out there that needs to see Kennesaw State play Indiana. Nobody needs to watch Western Michigan play Bama. We watch it every single September. It's streaming on ESPN Plus, and it's 35-0 at halftime. I'm thrilled that Western Michigan gets to field a football team and the alums can go watch their guys play in the fall. I never want to see it on my television one time ever. I don't want to see him play in a MAC game. I don't want to see him play in Alabama, and I certainly do not want to see them playing in the college football playoff. Football is not like basketball. Football is not like baseball. In those college sports that we have here, anybody can beat anybody in baseball. Every single year we go into the box on a Tuesday and watch Nichols or Northwestern beat LSU by 3 runs. It happens every single year. It can happen. It's worth giving those guys an opportunity. Kent State gets to the College World Series. Murray State gets to the College World Series. Coastal Carolina wins the College World Series. Fresno State wins the College World Series. It can happen. In basketball, sure, Kansas can shoot 3 out of 24 from deep on that day, and you can have somebody show up and beat them. C.J. McCollum at Lehigh can go beat Duke. We saw Bucknell beat. It happens every year. Okay, it's a 64-team tournament. That's fine. It's basketball. In soccer, oftentimes the games are 2-0, 2-1, 1-0. That inherently creates variability in your winner, and it's easier to stay competitive when the scores don't get as high. There's just not as much difference. In football, the big, huge, strong dudes from Bama run into the not very big, not very strong little dudes from Kennesaw State 180 times in a row. There's no upset in that. No one needs to see that. Absolutely not. I don't even need to see the 24-team playoff everybody's talking about to let the 8-4 team from the Big Ten in. You didn't take care of your business for 12 weeks. I don't need you to show up in December. I like the cutoff being 10-2. I'll give you a couple mulligans. I've talked about that all the time. I liked expanding from 4 up. I liked expanding to 8. I'm not as wild about to 12. I'm not as wild about 16. But I like keeping more teams engaged. I don't need 8-4 teams engaged. Your ship sailed. I don't need it at just 2. I don't need it at just 4. 12 is good. 16 is a little much. 24, absolutely not. I don't need to be rewarding teams that couldn't take care of their business for a 12-week regular season. And I certainly don't need to deal with teams who, while Auburn and LSU and Texas are button heads with Georgia and Tennessee and Florida and South Carolina, they're playing Rice. That's not, I don't need that. You want to expand the World Cup every 4 years, have a big celebration, and get down to the big boys at the end? I don't care. I'm not going to watch it anyway. But I'm invested in college football here, and there is no sense in letting Kennesaw State and Western Michigan come in here and play actual Michigan. We watch it every September, and we don't even need to watch that anymore. I love Bill Connolly. He has awesome stuff on ESPN.com. This one is not my speed. If you want to agree, maybe you agree with me, maybe you agree with Bill Connolly, you can read it right there on the college football page on ESPN.com. Step aside, Jay Johnson's going to be with us coming up in 30 minutes. We're going to talk to Jay about Tommy White's Major League debut, which is coming at you tomorrow night. Gage Jump will be on the field with him. I don't think he's starting in the game, but he's out there. Dylan Cruz will be in the opposing outfield with Washington. It's the A's in Washington, so that's very, very cool. And I just want to talk to Jay about the cool stuff that's going on in Major League Baseball with a lot of guys from his program here at LSU. And then we'll also get a little thumbnail from Jay on the 2 guys that he's got that are Cape Cod League All-Stars, which is a great thing. So I know that Jay's done a huge media tour the last 3 days talking about that signing class, and you've probably heard him talk about it. You've certainly heard me talk about it, so we're not going to rehash that portion of last weekend. I want to look at some of the cool things from the past and then a couple of guys who are doing some really cool things presently up on the Cape. So we'll do that with Jay coming up at 1:15. Talk some LSU football, top of hour number 2. When we come back, we'll close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You heard that right. 3 decades remodeling, redesigning bathrooms and closets. If you've got one of those big 90s style jacuzzis tubs that was built and has those huge jets in it and it's really tall and you never get in it because 1, you don't take baths, or 2, it doesn't work anymore because it's 30 years old, well, it's taking up a lot of space, right? Take it out. Look at all that space you would free up in your bathroom if you took out that big old jacuzzi tub. David Duvall, One Bath and Closet's happy to take that out and put a glass walk-in shower in. It changes the complete aesthetic of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom too, and it adds a little value to your home in the meantime. He is happy to help you with that. It doesn't cost anything to have that free consultation with David. Go to onebathandclosets.com and then apply for that free consultation. If you're looking at payment plans, he's got them. 0% financing for 18 months. It's David Duvall in One Bath and Closets. He'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Find him online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Tell you about my friend Jonathan Carbo in the Highland Insurance Group, online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com. It is storm season, so if you're looking for someone to review your property insurance, the Highland Insurance Group is happy to do that for you. Make sure your building valuation is proper. Make sure your deductible is exactly what you're looking for. Make sure you're not going to face any co-insurance penalties if you are underinsured. And make sure that you got everything that you need covered. It's something that a lot of folks necessarily look at. They may just look at the price. Yeah, just look at the price. Do you know exactly what you're covered for? The Howard Insurance Group can get a second set of eyeballs on your property and casualty insurance, and they're always happy to help you out with benefits as well. If you got a group health care plan that you're not happy with your business, whether it's premium or just the coverage that's allowed, let the Howard Insurance Group take a look at that. They're online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com. All right, the Open Championship takes on a lot of different shapes and sizes. This one is going to be one that's kind of my speed. I know there are a lot of people that love it when it's dark and gloomy and raining and they got to deal with the wind and elements and all that kind of stuff. I find that to be kind of fluky. You're trying to keep your gloves dry and the caddies are running around with the umbrellas, and some people love it. It's just not my favorite thing. What they've got at this event this weekend, and based on the forecast at Birkdale, is a very, very, very dry, crusty golf course where balls are going to be running all over the place. It's not going to be as windy as they would like, but the ball's just going to be running all over the place, and I think that's fascinating. We don't really get that a lot here in the States, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch these guys play. It's been a fascinating day of golf. I'm looking at the leaderboard thus far. Jackson Suber made eagle on 18. He is 2 shots clear, and will go into day 2 with the solo lead after shooting a 6-under par round of 64. Sungjae Im, who hasn't been playing that great lately, shot 4 under. He's in there with Daniel Brown, who was actually the leader a couple years ago after 1 round. But it's not a loaded leaderboard of superstars right there at the top. You're looking at Thomas Dietrich. He's tied at 3 under with Robert McIntyre, who played at McNeese down the road in Lake Charles. Francesco Molinari, Open champion, shows up with a 3 under. He's joined by Alex Smalley. Interesting name here. Tied 4th, Bryson DeChambeau, who has been awful at Open Championships. He tries to bring his goofy little scientific mind into the Open Championship with his single-length irons and trying to do his clock in the backswing and make sure he's got everything dialed in. And the Open Championship doesn't call for that. You got to be creative. You got to use slopes. You got to hit different clubs and shots you don't practice. And Bryson usually terrible at that. And he's missed the cut at all 3 majors this year. And all of a sudden he pops up and shoots a 3 under. I think he's going to eject at some point and shoot an awful number. We'll see if that happens or not. I'm pulling for Colin Morikawa. He's on the 18th hole right now. He's my pick in golf this weekend. He's 3 under par. Cam Young, 3 under par. Henrik Stenson goes out and shoots 2 under tonight out of the live ashes there. But still, some of the big names are lurking and very much in the mix. Scotty Scheffler is 2 under par. He's done, so that's a name absolutely to watch. Tommy Fleetwood, playing like 4 miles from where he was born, is 1 under. John Rahm, 1 under as well. And I'll tell you this. If you have never in your life felt like Rory McIlroy on a golf course, never, you may have today, because I watched Rory earlier today on consecutive holes miss 3 putts from inside 5 feet. 3 putts from inside 5 feet. And the third time he missed it, he nearly threw his putter in the air. It like came off out of his hands and he had to catch it before it hit the ground. He was looking like Joe amateur golfer, Joe weekend golfer, in terms of the putts he was missing, because we all hack it all over the place, play hockey around the cup from 5 feet. I do it. You do it. We all do it. He was doing that. And it was ticking him off. And that's the way we feel just about every time we go play golf. So if you've never felt like Rory because you can't blast at 330 and you've never won the Masters back-to-back and you don't have a great short game touch or the ability to hit a 7-iron 230 yards, you felt like Rory today because he couldn't make it from inside 5 feet. Not once. It wasn't like, oh, he missed a short putt. Nope, 3 holes in a row. Couldn't get it in the hole. And it's been a tough go for Rory as of this point today. So they're still playing. They play for like 13 hours in this daylight in Europe. It's fascinating, but it is a dusty, crusty golf course, and that's exactly the way that they want it. I don't think they'll water the fairways the rest of the week. They certainly water the greens to keep those alive, and they'll cut them down as the weekend goes to kind of firm those up and quicken those up. But these fairways are going to be ripping for the rest of the weekend. It should make for some very, very interesting golf. I've got a feeling the top of the leaderboard, Jackson Suber, Sung J M, and Daniel Brown, not going to win this golf tournament. I've got a feeling the cream might rise to the top, and I think that we'd all like to see a star emerge, whether it's Scheffler or Morikawa winning his third major, second Open championship. I can't have the Live boys winning. No Hatton, no Rahm, no Bryson, none of that. Can't have it. But it's going to be really interesting to watch these guys play this golf course for the next couple of days. Incidentally, my crew, wife and 2 kids, are hitting the road for the beach tomorrow with my wife's family since I'm going to media days on Sunday. Not going to be able to make that trip, which does bum me out. But what doesn't bum me out is that I'm going to be home by myself watching golf without 2 kids running all over the place, demanding I put on Blippi on the TV. So that is a positive in the Palmer house. We'll be watching a little golf before we take off for Tampa on Sunday. That's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. We'll come back, talk some LSU football. Jay Johnson in 20 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Always love telling you about my friends over at Auctioner. And this time of year, they want to make sure you're aware that heat stroke is significant risk. It's serious stuff down here this time of year, and you've got to make sure that you hydrate. It's something that can be very, very detrimental to young athletes, and there are some things you can do to help prevent those heat strokes, whether it's wear loose and breathable gear, work out in the early morning hours or at late in the evening if you can. Drink water. Make sure you're constantly drinking water, and if you do stay out more than an hour, mix in those electrolyte drinks, but make sure they're low in sugar. Skip alcohol. That can dehydrate you really, really quickly. Use sunscreen, sunglasses. That's not just to protect you from the UV. It also cools you off as well. Auctioner wants you to be aware of all that. Know your limits. If you feel off, make sure you stop. If you need your nearest urgent care, check them out online at auctioner.org/UC.